All right, section 4.1, graphing equations in slope-intercept form, part 2. Write the equation of the line. You're given the equation, and you have to put the equation in slope-intercept form. So we have to identify our M and our B. So the very first thing we're going to do is we are going to look to see what is our B. B stands for the y-intercept. Our B is -2. Now, we don't necessarily have to write the ordered pair for this problem because all we're wanting to do is find our B. Yes, the ordered pair is 0, -2, but when we go to put it in the equation, we only care about the B part, the -2. Now, put your pencil on that point. You can either go up or down to get to where the next line is. The next corner where the line crosses, it looks to be right here. It doesn't have a dot. I put a dot in. So from your y-intercept, we're going to go up 2 over 1. Do it again. Up 2 over 1. Do it again. Up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1. And we definitely landed on that point. So my slope was up 2 over 1. So my slope is 2. When we go to plug it into y equals mx plus b, when you have 1 in the denominator, you drop it. So y equals 2x plus b, and b is -2. So we wouldn't write it as plus a -2, we would write it as -2. So there's the equation of the line. Write what you think the equation of the line for this graph. The y-intercept is 5, so b is 5. And your slope, you went down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the right 1. So your slope is -1 over 1, which we would just say is -1. So you can write y equals -1x plus 5. Or if you have a 1 for the coefficient, you don't have to write it. Y equals -x plus 5. So you were correct. Okay. In 1997, about 2.6 million girls competed in high school sports. The number of girls competing in high school sports has increased by an average of 0.06 million per year since 1997. So we're talking about from 1997. We're not talking about anything before that. It's just starting at 1997. How many girls were competing in sports? Starting in 1997, how many girls were competing? 2.6 million. So we're going to write 2.6. Then it increased by 0.06 million per year. Do we know how many years we're talking about here? No, but for every year it increased how much? 0.06. So increase means plus 0.06 per year. We're going to let x stand for the number of years. Is equal to y would be the total number of girls. Now, they didn't tell you what variables to use, so I used x and y. Example A says, write a linear equation to find the number of girls in high school sports after 1997. Linear equation means slope-intercept form, equation of the line, which is in this form, y equals mx plus b. Now, right now, this equation is not in slope-intercept form, but we can rewrite it to put it in slope-intercept form. When we go to rewrite it, it would be y equals 0.06x plus 2.6. Now it's in slope-intercept form. Y'all agree with that? Okay, now we're going to graph. And I gave you the graph. What is our horizontal axis stands for? X, which stands for what?
0.06.
Number of years. So x stands for the number of years. And our y stands for the number of girls competing. I'm going to abbreviate. Now, I have to graph this. The very first point I must always graph is your y-intercept. It is always given to you when you put it in slope-intercept form. What is your y-intercept? 0, 2.6, right? Now notice that on my horizontal axis I counted by ones, but on my vertical axis I counted by halves, or 0.5. So I'm going to plot 0, 2.6 is about right here. Now my slope, what is my slope? No, 0.06. It's not 0.06x, it's 0.06. Now how in the world do I rise over run 0.06? I can't do that. I can't do that. So the only way to graph is to make a table. So we're going to make a table. Now, what values are we going to give x? I gave you your numbers to put on your horizontal axis. I gave you 1 through 10. Do we give every single number? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? No, let's space it out. Like 3, 6, 9 would be good. No, don't forget we always have the 0, 2.6. We already have that. And then I would do 3, 6, 9. So using your calculator, you plug in 3 right here for x. So that's 0.06 times 3 plus 2.6, and you get 2.78. Okay, y'all fill in the rest of the table and check with mine in a minute. Okay, so here are the points. Now we're going to plot the points. I've already plotted 0, 2.6. Now when I plot 3, 2.7, I am just estimating. And then I'm going to plot 6, 2.96. That's very close to 3. And then 9, 3.14 is just a little above 9. So now I'm ready to draw my line. So there's the graph. Now, if you notice, I don't have an arrow right here at the y-intercept. How come? Because this is where it starts. So I will only have a ray. This is called a ray when you have just one arrow. That's called a ray. Now example C, a ray, R-A-Y, ray. Example C says estimate the number of girls competing in 2017. Well, it starts in 1997 and it goes to 2017. So how many years is that? 20. So we're going to plug in 20. 0.06 times 20 plus 2.6. Okay, so y is equal to 3.8. And what is that? 3.8 million girls competing. Okay, example 5b. Says the band boosters are selling sandwiches for $5 each. They bought $1,160 in ingredients. Write an equation for profit P made on N sandwiches. So instead of X and Y, they told us to use P and N. So how much are they charging per sandwich? They're selling for $5. Do we know how many sandwiches we've sold? How many? N. and we charged $5 for each sandwich. So how would you write that? 5N. Now, what we did was we went to the store and bought all these ingredients, and we spent $1,160. So after we make our money, then we have to pay the $1,160 back. So what are we going to do with that $1,160? Add it or subtract it? Subtract. So we subtract the cost, $1,160, and that is going to be our profit P. Now, is this in the form of y equals mx plus b? No, we now need to rewrite it. So what is replacing our y? P. What is replacing our x? N. So that's P is equal to 5N minus 1160. We are going to graph it. If you notice, I've already gave you the graph. I already identified what the horizontal axis stands for, which is letter N. And the vertical is the P, which is the profit. I'm going to graph. I have to make a table. So instead of X and Y, it's N and P. So the very first point I'm always going to plot is my y-intercept, which is 0, negative 1160. Where is 0, negative 1160? Way down here. That means if we go to the store and buy all this food, and we go to make the sandwiches, and we make the sandwiches, and no one comes to buy them, we are in the hole. We're negative $1,000, $1,160. So now we need to pick other values for X, or excuse me, for N. What values do y'all want? We could pick any number we want. What numbers do y'all think we should put?
0. And things that ends in 0, so like 10.
Well, look at the graph. What are we counting by? Look at the graph. What are we counting by?
Oh, hundreds.
So we're going to pick 200, 400, and 600. I mean, you could have picked 100, 300, 500. You could have picked any one you want. So the very first time, that's 5 times 200 is 1,000, minus 1160 is negative 160. Okay, finish the table. Okay, let's plot the points. 200, negative 160. Are we still losing money? That. So I'm going to plot 200, negative 160. It's about right here. 400 is 840. And 500 is a little over, but it's just a little that I can extend it. Now I can draw my line, and remember, it starts here, so I don't put it, I don't put an arrow at the y-intercept. And there is my graph. Example C, find the total profit if 1,400 sandwiches were sold. So the profit, so that's 5 times 1,400. So 5 times 1,400 minus 1160. What would the profit be? $5,840 profit. Example C. Okay, for Illinois residents, the average tuition at Chicago State University is $157 per credit hour. Fees cost $218 per year. Example A, write an equation slope-intercept form of the tuition T for C credit hours. Okay, right off the top, before you even pay, you have a flat rate fee of $218. You must pay that first. So $218. Then they charge you $157 per credit hour. Do we know how many hours we're taking? No, it said C. But for every hour, we get charged how much money? 157. So that's 157 per credit hour is equal to T, or tuition. They told us to use T and C. So instead of Y and X, so what is replacing your Y? T. So we're going to rewrite this in slope-intercept form. T equals 157C plus 218. So there's the equation in slope-intercept form. Now I'm going to graph it. In this graph, I did not give you what numbers to go by. In all the other problems, I gave you what to count by. I didn't on this time. You have to figure it out. So my horizontal axis stands for C, which stands for number of credit hours. Because you can go part-time and take a few. Some people take 5 hours a year because they're working full-time. So I'm going to count by 5, so I'm going to label every other one just to make it nice to look at. Now I'm not sure what to count my vertical axis by until I make my table. The very first point is going to be my y-intercept, 0, 218. Now what values are we going to pick for the table? I would do 10, 20, 30, right? So fill in your table. Sometimes when you make your table and you're trying to graph, it doesn't hurt to go and look at this very last question. It says find the cost of a student who's taken 32 hours. So put 32 in your table also. Put it up here. Okay, so what do you think we need to count our vertical axis by? Okay, so let's plot the point. 0, 218 is right down here. 10, 1,788. So extend your line. So for 32 hours, it's going to cost $5,242 for tuition. Okay, example 7. Read the problem, and I only want you to do example A, and then put your pencil down. Get Fit Gym advertises their prices as startup fee is $145 and monthly fee is $45. So, what this means, if you want to go and join the gym, the very first day you have to pay the startup fee, which is how much money? $145. Then you will get charged $45 a month. So in addition to the $145, it's plus $45 a month. Do we know how many months? It's M months. So 45M is equal to the cost of the membership. Now, is this in slope-intercept form? No, I'm going to rewrite it, putting it in slope-intercept form. Now, let me write the equation line as y equals mx plus b. What replaces your y? C. So it's C equals 45M. So what replaces your x? M plus 145. So part B, what does the slope represent? What is our slope? 45 is our slope. 45 is our slope. But what does it represent? What does it represent? Go back and read the problem. The startup fee is $145 and the monthly fee is $45. So what does 45 represent? Monthly fee. What does the C-intercept represent? Now C-intercept means instead of Y-intercept, it's called the C-intercept. It's your B. And what is that? That's your 145. That is your, not your cost, your C intercept. It's your B. And what is your B? 145. And what does that represent? The startup. The startup fee. And then example D, what is the cost of a 2-year membership? Now be very careful here. The equation is for months. So a 2-year membership would be how many months? 24. So you would write 45 times 24 plus 145, and that would be your 2-year cost. So calculate that. So we get $1,225 is your cost. So after 2 years, you have spent $1,225.